Go, go, Dalek Rangers! I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. And I tried to make this look cool last time, but I failed horribly, so yeah, that won't be returning unless I find some way to do it, but anyway, let's begin the episode. Hello everyone, I'm Papa Ken and welcome to episode 50 of Discovering Doctor Who. It's hard for me to believe that I've made it 50 episodes so far and how much the community has grown since this all started, but even though this is the 50th episode, it's no time to slow down because I have a Christmas episode of this season to catch up to, so let's get right into it. Well, today's episode is Victory of the Daleks. So, to start off with, my favorite parts of this episode. And, despite what I've heard about this episode, I actually had a fair number of good things to say about this episode. The first of which was Winston Churchill. And, again, I forgot to write down the actor's name, but the guy that played Winston Churchill in this episode, well, first of all, I've seen him in other things, and he's a great actor. But the way he portrayed Winston Churchill in this episode was just amazing. Now, admittedly, I haven't seen a lot of dramatic performances that really encapsulated the man who is Winston Churchill. But just from, my personal experience, I thought he did an absolutely amazing job. If any of you feel otherwise, please let me know. Please chime in the comments. But like I said, as far as my personal experience goes, I feel like the guy did an amazing job. Now, moving on, my second favorite part of this episode, the Ironsides, being the Daleks, obviously, or at least the initial ones, and for a few reasons. One, the situation was absolutely hilarious, especially when it came to the little exchange between the Doctor and the Dalek when the Dalek was trying to offer him tea. And the Doctor just kind of starts seemingly going crazy. And I think the Doctor attacks the Dalek at one point, or he strikes it or something like that. And the Dalek basically says, "So you do not want any tea?" I found that really entertaining. And also just the idea of, the good guys using Daleks as weapons, however short-lived it was very interesting to me, a very intriguing idea. And not only that, but honestly, the color scheme of the Daleks, the Ironsides specifically, is sort of this camo, this very rugged looking color, and it fit them very well. It wasn't just the shiny gold or shiny bronze that at least I'm used to at this point, that you see on basically all the Daleks. They seemed different. They seemed separated from some of their others, or some of their predecessors, which I personally really liked. So yeah, I liked the Ironsides, so to speak. My third favorite part about this episode was when the Doctor confronts the Dalek. And I think actually, well yeah, it has to do with my quote of the episode as well. But it's when the Doctor basically gets in the Dalek's face and starts calling it out, starts trying to, pull out the truth, which I won't lie, while I was watching this episode, I thought that maybe the Doctor was wrong. Maybe this was a good Dalek, or these were some good Daleks that maybe got their heads knocked around or something. We even find out that they're impure Daleks, obviously, so who knows, maybe they would have a chance of turning around. I don't know. But obviously that doesn't end up panning out. But just that whole confrontation, it really reminded me of when the first time I saw a Dalek in the episode Dalek in Christopher Eccleston's run as the 9th Doctor. And although it admittedly didn't have just the same emotional punch as it did back then, I feel like Matt Smith did a pretty good job overall of just showing the rage that the Doctor held inside for these creatures, for the Daleks. So yeah, that confrontation was really cool. I liked it. Moving on, the fourth favorite part of this episode, the twist with Bracewell, or Bracewell? Yeah, I hope I wrote down his name right. But the whole twist there, when one of the Daleks shoots him and they shoot his hand, and at first I was just like, oh my god, that's pretty graphic. They blew his hand off. And then it sunk in that he has wires. So he's a robot or android. And although I do have some issues with how that panned out overall, I'll get into that more in my annoyances. But that twist right there was very much unexpected, and it definitely threw me for a loop, admittedly. Now, my final favorite part of this episode was, and I apologize if I'm saying it wrong, but the Jammy Dodger, the little cookie or dessert that the Doctor was holding for that entire span where he's with the Daleks on their ship, pretending it's the self-destruct button, which, I mean, I won't lie, I either thought it was a kind of poorly made prop or a cookie from the very first time I saw it, because something about it just looked off. So it personally didn't fool me at all, but the fact that it was revealed that it actually was just a cookie, it had me cracking up, and that was just a part of the episode that I just really, really liked, and it was just, for me, perfect comedic timing, especially the line that the Doctor says after it's revealed. I can't remember it exactly, but basically, you know, he was expecting tea anyway, so, you know, might as well bring the cookie or the biscuit? Is that what they call them? Yeah, in the UK, they call them biscuits. Yeah, but they're cookies here, in America, where I live. In America! Moving on. Of course, you can tell I didn't really focus on the favorites. There are too much. And let's move into my annoyances with this episode, starting with, and these aren't really in any particular order, to be honest, but the segment where the fighter planes go into space, and we have this sort of Death Star-esque sequence around the Dalek spaceship. Now, on one hand, I did enjoy that segment because it definitely felt like a callback to Star Wars and seeing the big Death Star fight. Even with the two other pilots other than the main one that actually lived. But when they exploded, it was just very reminiscent of the Death Star fight in the first Star Wars movie. But at the same time, and I know, logic can, you gotta stretch your logic and you gotta suspend your disbelief with this show. But, come on, even if, okay, I can believe the air bubbles that could go around the planes that would allow them to go into space. But you're telling me that these fighter pilots just, for, no real apparent reason, all of a sudden are able to easily fly through space and not be freaked out by that at all. And then also, I don't even remember them mentioning having lasers. Maybe I just missed that or I forgot about it. But the planes had lasers! Again, I enjoyed the fact that it was like a little Star Wars-esque scene. But when I thought about it, and it wasn't even like way afterward, it was while the scene was going on, I was just thinking, this is really weird. And it definitely took me out of the episode, but, I mean, on one hand I did like it, but for the most part it was really dumb. And, very distracting, to say the least. But moving on, my second annoyance with this episode, I said it in the intro to this video. Go, go, Dalek Rangers! Now on one hand, the Daleks themselves didn't seem I didn't really see anything wrong with them. I like the command that the Supreme Dalek had, but I'm sorry, I can't let it go. The colors. I heard people talking about the colors of the Daleks and how it reminded them of the Power Rangers. And it's true. There's no reason these Daleks should be colored these primary pastel colors. It takes away any sort of fear you might have of them. Now, I actually did read online that apparently kids liked this redesign, like when they would go to live events where they would show off the Dalek models. And on one hand, that's a good thing, it's for the kids, but within the show itself, those colors just don't work. I absolutely loved the color scheme of the Ironside Daleks, but these new ones just, they look ridiculous. The white one, the one that's just basically colored white, I'm kind of okay with that one. And maybe the red one, maybe, just because I feel like one of the previous Daleks was colored that way as well. But just this color scheme of coordinated Daleks, just, it felt wrong, and it was just, I don't know, it was just a strange thing to see on screen. My third, I think it's the third, yes, third annoyance with this episode, and it was just something that was thrown in at the very beginning and the very end of the episode, but this one side character that works under, who was, well, I'm just gonna say she works under Winston Churchill, because I'm just gonna say, assuming that all of them are under him. Whatever, that's kind of a rambling moment, but her name was Lillian, and her crying over her lost lover, who he was mentioned at the very beginning of the episode, like I said, and then at the very end, all of a sudden, she starts crying. A very forced, not real at all looking cry. And I think it draws a glance from Amy, maybe to make her think a little bit more about the marriage or the wedding she might be missing out on. But what was the point? There was none. There was absolutely no reason for any of that little segment, however minor it may be, to be in there, and it just stuck out like a sore thumb for me. Now, my final annoyance with this episode is Bracewell's existence. And that might seem strange because, you know, I commented on how, you know, him being an android was a really well done twist in my opinion. But he was basically a living plot device for this entire episode. Like, because of his existence, it set things in motion, but in the end, his character had no real impact on anything. And even him being there, the logic behind it fell off, because, okay, the Daleks created him to create them, and then also made him able to learn these this other technology, like the bubbles and being able to fly out into space and apparently lasers. But if he was supposed to be really working for the Daleks, or if he was something the Daleks made, why would they have allowed him to help the humans that he was a part of? But then you bring in the whole aspect of, well, he's kind of human, or at least that's the way they kept the bomb from exploding. I don't know, despite the twist that I liked, I feel like he is probably one of the biggest flaws of this episode. Him and just all the logic that goes around him, and the fact that he is, again, a living plot device for this episode. And yeah, it leads to the new Daleks being born, it furthers, you know, the Doctor and Amy a little bit more, but overall, there was just no real point to him. I feel like this was an episode that what they wanted to accomplish could have been done in a mini-sode in like 5 minutes. It'd just be like, oh, well, the Supreme Daleks are here, or the new Daleks are here. Okay! Again, that's just me, but... yeah. Unfortunately, I feel like his existence just wasn't necessary. They could have come up with something much better. Or at least I would hope so. But, moving on from there, it's time to get into my favorite quote of this episode, and it actually ties into one of my favorite parts of the episode, as I mentioned before, where the Doctor confronts the Dalek. And the quote is, well, it's, the last line comes from the Dalek, but the rest of it comes from the Doctor. And it goes like this. You are my enemy, and I am yours. You are everything I despise, the worst thing in all creation. I've defeated you, time and time again I've defeated you. I sent you back into the void. I saved the whole of reality from you. I am the Doctor, and you are the Daleks. Correct. And I love that for 2 reasons. One, like I mentioned before, just the intensity that the Doctor had while yelling and confronting this Dalek, trying to get the truth out of him. And also, just that telling moment right at the end where I'm expecting the Dalek to basically just carry on with its facade and be like, are you sure you don't want any tea? But then it says, correct. And everything from there was just, it felt like the Doctor Who that I've come to know and love over the past several seasons. It was just like, oh crap, I kind of expected this, but at the same time, it's happening for real now. So yeah, I just really, it was just a great quote and a great scene altogether, really. Now, as for my overall thoughts about this episode, it definitely had, as I mentioned, some aspects that I really liked, some parts that I enjoyed. And even though I don't care for their color scheme, I do find the new Daleks, especially the voice of the Supreme Dalek, pretty intimidating. I'm interested to see where it goes from here, because a lot of people have mentioned in the comments that these Daleks are just horrible. So I'm interested to see why. Because, like I said, other than the color scheme, I didn't really notice any negatives about them, personally. So yeah, the next time they pop up, I'm interested to see what happens there. But as for the episode itself, it's average. Not bad, but then again, not particularly good. It definitely, again, it had some positive aspects, and it did bring the Daleks back, for good or for ill. And it was just a nice little episode, I guess. Definitely a filler episode overall. Other than the fact that it brings the Daleks back, very much a filler episode from my perspective. Or maybe we could say like 90% filler and 10% plot that is going to play into the rest of the show, I can assume. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the episode itself, except for the very end. And it was one thing that I didn't catch at the end of the previous episode that one of the commenters pointed out, thank you by the way, and that is the crack in time. And this one definitely stood out to me because it was the crack right behind the TARDIS when it disappeared or it left the area. And I just can't help but think, where are these cracks coming from? Now, obviously the first one we saw was the crack in Amy's wall where Prisoner Zero came out of, and we saw the gigantic eye thing. And yes, very freaky. But now there's just like, there's light glowing through the cracks. But what's on the other side there? And I don't know if I'm going to have to wait the entire season to find out, or if it's going to be one of those things that's revealed halfway through and then something crazy happens after that. I'll just have to wait and find out, but you better believe I am ready to see the next episode. And, well, not only for that, but also because of the titles. The titles of the next episodes, which is a two-parter, I can't talk, is The Time of Angels and Flesh and Stone. And of course, that means the Weeping Angels are returning. I figured it would only be a matter of time since Moffat is in charge now and they seem to be his babies from what I've heard online. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to these next 2 episodes, and I will do my absolute best to actually have that episode of Discovering Doctor Who out on Saturday or Sunday if, you know, I'm not able to get it out by Saturday because of the holidays. Whee! But everyone, thank you so very much for joining me for this new episode of Discovering Doctor Who. Thank you for all of you that have watched through the past 50 plus episodes, more than 50 if you count the season wrap-ups or the season recaps, and even the one mini-sode that I've done so far. Yeah, thank you all so much for coming along. Thank you all for the comments you leave. Again, even if even if I'm not able to respond to them, I always do my best to. And for those of you that just have your conversations within the comment threads themselves, thank you for keeping it civil. And, you know, if someone is causing trouble, please just let me know, and, you know, we'll try and handle that situation as easily, as quickly as possible. But everyone, this has been a great travel. I can't talk. It's been a great journey so far, and it is nowhere near over, as all of you know. I still have a long way to go. But hopefully that journey will be coming to a pit stop soon with the Christmas episode of Season 5 this Christmas. I'm going to do my absolute best to get there. I think that's the 3rd time I've said that this episode. But time to end this and move on. Everyone, I hope you have a great rest of the week. For those of you in the US, have a wonderful Thanksgiving with your family and friends. And until next time, everyone, I'm Papa Ken. Alonzi!